On the far left, I was eating about 2,100 calories a day. And then after gaining 15 pounds, I was up to around 2,600 calories a day. And finally, in the last photo, I was at around 2,900 calories a day for my maintenance. But the one thing that stayed the same in all of these stages is that I was always hungry. So after my very first cut, where I learned a lot about calories and how to cut calories to lose weight a certain amount per week, and I was dieting down just to get lean and see how I would look, I got to the point where I was eating around 2,100 calories a day to maintain a physique that was around 160 pounds, as you can see in that photo. And I found that that's really not a whole lot of food. And so I thought to myself, if I put on more muscle, well, the heavier I am, the more muscle I have, I'll be able to eat more food and I won't feel as hungry. And that's what I did. I slowly, over the next year, gained some weight, about 15 pounds. And then I was eating about 400 to 500 calories more a day at that point. And I was thinking that I would be more full at that point, but guess what? I was not. And the reason for that is because your weight determines how many calories you need to maintain that weight, and on your activity, all kinds of different factors. But the amount of hunger you feel is based on your level of leanness. So although I only needed around 2,600 calories to maintain that new 173 pound look that did have quite a bit more muscle, well, I still felt just as hungry because my body needed that amount of calories to maintain my physique at that level of leanness. But because of that level of leanness, that is what was causing me to be hungry. So my leanness didn't change much between the first and second pictures because I just put on mostly muscle. And so I was still relatively the same body fat percentage, and that caused me to be just the same amount of hungry, even though I could eat more food. So your hunger signals aren't based on how many calories you're allowed to have, but more so on your level of leanness. You hear some people say they can only eat 1,500 calories a day to maintain their body weight. Another person's like, I'm eating 3,500 or 4,000. You're thinking, that's just crazy. That's not fair. But if that person might be suffering too, because if they're too lean, they're still going to feel hungry because they're doing all kinds of cardio, all kinds of exercising, and all that stuff together requires that amount of energy. Because once again, calories are just a measurement of energy. You'd have a certain amount in and a certain amount out. So why put on all this muscle, put on all the work to gain this extra weight so you can eat more if ultimately you're just going to feel the same? Well, for one, if you're into bodybuilding, you like building muscle, you like the look, well, you get the reward of the aesthetic that you're looking for. But also, when it comes to those meal choices, you have greater leeway in what you can choose. For example, I could go have an 800 to 1,000 calorie meal at some fast food restaurant. Whereas when I was only around 160 pounds and eating 2,100 calories a day, you're looking at like 40 to 50% of my daily calorie intake in that one meal. And I'll probably be getting hungry, and then there'll be more suffering involved because I'm gonna be hungry later on in the day and have to keep from eating more food if I don't wanna gain weight. Whereas now, being close to 3,000 calories a day to maintain my current weight, well, that's only about 25 to 30-ish% of my daily calories. So it gives you greater variety of things you can eat because you have so many more calories throughout the day. And another thing is that it is easier to get your protein intake for the day if you're going by around 1 gram per pound of body weight like most people do. In the first picture, I'm getting around 160 grams of protein per day, where in the last one, it's around 185 grams of protein per day. That's only 25 grams extra. That's, a protein bar, maybe 200 calories extra, but I'm eating nearly 800 calories more throughout the day. So you have a greater variety of things you can eat while still hitting those protein goals. But there is one thing that has changed, because if you look at those pictures, I was pretty much the same level of leanness as far as body fat percentage goes. From the first to the second picture, I put on a lot of muscle that first year, but as you continue training, you get more experience, you don't have those newbie gains anymore, your rate of muscle gain slows. So even though I gained 12 pounds from the second to third picture, you can see that I have a little bit more body fat on me. I'm not quite as cut or as lean, as defined, however you want to put it, in that picture, because I did gain more fat from picture 2 to picture 3 than I did from picture 1 to picture 2. And because of that, my hunger signaling has changed some. Now I am eating around that 2,900 to 3,000 calories a day, but I don't feel hungry anymore. And a lot of days, I don't even feel like eating that much. And I'll see my weight drop some. And that's because of this concept of a body fat set point. Everyone has a certain amount based on your genetics where your body naturally wants to be. Some people are on the heavier side, some people are on the leaner side. I tend to be on the leaner side here, and it's pretty easy for me to stay lean. When I was at the level of the first and second pictures, I was right on the verge of maybe being a little below where my body wanted to be. So it was sending signals to say, hey, you need to eat more because we're hungry, you're too lean. So even though I was eating the amount that my body needed to maintain that weight, it was less than what my body wanted because it naturally wanted to have a little more fat on it. And after I put on a few more pounds of fat between the second and third pictures, now my body is just kind of like, hey, I'm good. Eat what you want. You don't need to go crazy. I used to, especially between the first and second pictures, if I had a pizza somewhere, I would want to eat the whole thing. And we went out to pizza with a bunch of people yesterday, and I had 1.5 pieces and was like, I'm good. I don't really want any more. It's like, it really helps with the mental aspect of it, because when you're really hungry and you start thinking about food all the time, it is a pain. But overall, the whole thing to keep in mind here is that don't just work out and try to gain weight to think, oh, I can eat more and I'm gonna be happier. Well, yeah, it is helpful. Like I said, you have more options and choices when you go out to eat places. It's not gonna take up as many of your total daily calories when you have a greater amount to use. But if you are hungry all the time, just gaining a bunch of extra muscle while staying the same relative body fat percentage isn't gonna help, because although you can eat more, you will still feel hungry and you'll still be suffering. If you can deal with that with, higher volume foods that are lower in calories, I have lots of recipes on the channel to help you with that. And they're helpful for losing weight, for maintaining lower weights, all that type of stuff. But one last thing to keep in mind is that if you're wanting to look really cut super lean because you want to attract girls, chances are you're just going to be attracting guys, because once you get to a certain point of leanness, most girls are just like, that's a little too much. So don't just look at what Instagram says, what Hollywood says. Just be healthy. Be the best version of you. And don't forget Instagram, @Camber Fitness. Leave comments, likes, all that cool stuff, and I'll see you soon.